Good afternoon. As the president of the Cassidy chapter of the Cum Laude Society, I welcome all of you to the 2019 annual chapter meeting. I would like to ask Father Tim Sean Humans of St. Edward's Chapel to give the invocation.
The Lord be with you.
Also with you.
Let us pray. Our God, teach us to learn, to love learning. For the world is yours, and all things in it speak, each in their way of you, of your mind, your designs, your artistry, your power, and your unfolding purpose. All knowledge is your knowledge, all wisdom, your wisdom. And so as we apply ourselves to learning, keep our minds full that all created things are your creative expression, that all stories are held within your greater story, and that all disciplines of order and design are chasing after your thoughts, so that greater mastery of these subjects will yield even greater knowledge of the symmetry and the wonder of your ways. All this we ask in the name of holy and loving Jesus. Amen.
We are gathered here in St. Edward's Chapel today for the induction of 16 outstanding students to the Cum Laude Society. I welcome the parents and family members of the inductees to Cassidy School. We are happy that you are here with us to celebrate the induction of your children. I would like to welcome our speaker today, Mr. Mark McCubbin, who also graduated from Cassidy School in 1974. I would like to also acknowledge the presence of the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Cassidy School, Mrs. Vicky English. It is our honor to have you all here with us today. I would like to ask Mr. David Gorham, Associate Headmaster of Cassidy School, to talk to us about the Cum Laude Society.
Thank you, Ms. Essiger. Some of you hear about the Cum Laude Society every year during our annual chapter meeting. But for some, like our freshman class, students new to Cassidy, new teachers, and the parents, this may be their first time to hear a brief summary of its history. The Cum Laude Society is an international academic society with 382 chapters at a number of public and a larger number of private schools here in the United States, as well in Canada, England, France, the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Spain. 19 of our sister ISAS schools are members also. The Society was founded in Maryland in 1906 for the purpose of recognizing scholastic achievement in secondary schools. The Latin term cum laude means with praise. The Society's motto is 3 Greek words: arete, excellence; dike, justice; and time, honor. Arete includes the concept of excellence in the moral sense and is not limited to the ideal of superiority in scholarship, nor does it involve the endeavor of competing primarily for academic goals. Dike includes the concept of what is suitable and appropriate, as well as just. Time includes the concept of dignity and truth, as well as honor. The Cassidy School chapter of the Cum Laude Society started in 1961. At Cassidy, the upper division teachers, administrators, and current student members of the society nominate candidates for induction. Election to the society is limited in a given academic year to no more than 10% of the junior class and no more than 20% of the senior class. The Cassidy Selection Committee meets and deliberates about the nominees to determine the final list. The prime criteria for selection to Cum Laude Society include the number and enthusiasm of nominations, a demonstrated excellence in academic work, a willingness to take academic risks, a demonstrated sense of collegiality, a love of learning, and good character, honor, and integrity in all aspects of school life, which are in line with the Society's motto of excellence, justice, and honor. The students elected to the Cum Laude Society have distinguished themselves by the rigor of their curriculum and by their enthusiasm for learning. Ms. Essiger.
Thank you, Mr. Gorham. At this time, I would like to acknowledge the current members of the Cassidy Cum Laude Selection Committee who are here in front of the chapel. Head of School, Mr. Nathan Sheldon. Associate Headmaster and Latin Teacher, Mr. David Gorham. Upper Division Director, Dr. John Powell. Academic Dean and Spanish Teacher, Ms. Joanne Infantino. Mr. Chris Halpern of the Math Department. Dr. Janet Hubble of the College Counseling Office and the English Department. Dr. Bonnie Gerard of the English Department. Dr. Emily Wardrop of the History Department, and myself of the Science Department. Cassidy School has a number of faculty members who are members of the Cum Laude Society, or the Phi Beta Kappa. Aside from the selection committee members who were inducted to the society, we also have, actually they're here with us today, Mrs. Heather Vick, a Cassidy Lower Division teacher who was inducted at Trinity University, and Mr. Jonas Hamilton, who was inducted at Kate School. Inducted to the Phi Beta Kappa are Dr. Will Bishop, inducted at Emory University, Mrs. Whitney Finley and Mr. Matt Pena, both inducted at the University of Oklahoma, Mrs. Sherilyn O'Melia, inducted at Anderson University, and Mrs. Valerie Russell, inducted at Oklahoma Baptist University. You also see in front of the chapel current student members of the senior class of 2019 who were inducted last year as juniors. They all have maintained their outstanding academic performance and excellent pursuit for knowledge. I would like to ask each of them to please stand in front after I call their names. We can give them applause after all their names are called. Shahir Amir. Timothy George Domingo Briarash. Catherine Elise Cadzo. Claire Ann Richardson. Daniel Lucas Schnabel. Whitney Thomas. Abigail Emerson Williams. Congratulations on your consistent, excellent academic performance. Thank you. You may now go back to your seats. It is now time to present the inductees to this assembly. I would like to ask our head of school, Mr. Nathan Sheldon, to call the names of the new members of the Cum Laude Society Cassidy School chapter. Inductees, please come forward when Mr. Sheldon reads your name and receive your Cum Laude certificate, booklet, and pin from Dr. John Powell, Upper Division Director. Then please stand in front facing the assembly as other inductees come forward. I ask the assembly to please hold the applause until all the names of the inductees are called. Mr. Sheldon.
Thank you, Mrs. Essiger. We'll start with the senior class. Congratulations to all of you. Isabel Christina Albarola. Jose Alejandro Albarola. Sahanya Vivek Bakhtaram. Catherine Eleanor Dubé. Hamza Razuk. Cameron Amir Stepp. Kian Reinhold Stepp. Brandon Seiden Trachtenberg. And Shangyu Reina Zeng. Now for our juniors, Sarah Catherine Jarjura. Joseph Kurian Manfredo. Sadia Afra Nazir. Reese Olivia Rhodes. Dylan Nilesh Vasan. Nikki Takahashi Weitzenhofer. And Chin Ariel Shu. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 2019 inductees to the Cum Laude Society of the Cassidy School Chapter. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of our inductees. You may now return to your seats. To the 2019 inductees to the Cassidy School Chapter of the Cum Laude Society, the distinguished record you have made for yourselves at Cassidy School has won for you membership in the Cum Laude Society. This is a fellowship of scholars whose purpose is to recognize excellence in academic work. As you pursue your education and career in the future, it is our hope that you will accept the responsibility to make some contribution to the ongoing search for greater understanding of humans and society. I now ask Mr. Nathan Sheldon to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Essiger, again. I am really pleased to be able to introduce Mr. Mark McCubbin, as Mrs. Z said, graduate of class of 74. Mr. McCubbin has served as chairman of McCubbin Hosiery since 1982. McCubbin Hosiery is a soft-soled footwear company that designs, sources, and distributes socks, tights, slippers, pre-walkers throughout the world. Licensed brands such as Stride Right, Keds, Disney, Pendleton, and Robees, am I pronouncing that right? Robees are sold to domestic customers, which include Costco, Walmart, Nordstrom's, Dillard's, Target, and Amazon.com. In late 2013, Mr. McCubbin and his family sold a majority of the interest in his company to Guardian Capital Partners of Wayne, Pennsylvania. Mr. McCubbin was inducted into the Cum Laude Society as a junior in 1973. He went on to Dartmouth College, where he earned a BA in History in 1978. He currently serves on the boards of the Boys and Girls Club of Oklahoma City, the YMCA of Greater Oklahoma City, Team, and Oklahoma City Golf and Country Club. Previous board services include Cassidy School, where he was the chairman of our board, a Chance for Change Foundation, and the St. Anthony's Hospital Foundation. Mark and his wife Marta have two daughters, Sarah McCubbin Brown, graduate of Cassidy School '05, who lives here in Oklahoma City, and Allison McCubbin, who graduated in 2006 and lives in San Francisco. And probably would rather me not share, but after Mr. McCubbin graduated, his dad decided to become headmaster of Cassidy School from 1980 to 1990 for 10 years. Please help me welcome to the podium our 2019 Cum Laude speaker, Mr. Mark McCubbin.
Good afternoon. To Mr. Sheldon, Mr. Gorham, Ms. Essiger, and to the Cum Laude Committee, thank you for extending to me the privilege of speaking to you this afternoon. And to the 16 juniors and seniors who are being honored at this ceremony, congratulations to you on your accomplishments. They reflect great credit, not only upon you, but on your families and your classmates, and really the entire school. We're all very proud of you and happy for you. What we're celebrating together today is the visible result of a whole lot of invisible effort on your part. Invisible to us, but not to you. You know very well what it took, the hard work and effort it took to get here. But the recognition you received today wasn't the motivating factor, I know, but it's still good and it's appropriate that we gather together today to celebrate your accomplishments. I did, as Mr. Sheldon mentioned, graduate from Cassidy in 1974. 45 years ago, this June, which seems hard to believe, as so many memories of my days at Cassidy remain quite vivid, including the Cum Laude Induction ceremony, where the 16 of you are seated right now. I'm a proud Cassidy lifer, and I guess you could say I'm an Oklahoma City lifer as well. Immediately after 4 years at college, I returned home, came back to Oklahoma City to work with my brother David, also a Cassidy lifer, at what was then the family business, McCubbin Hosiery. My grandfather and father started the business in 1952, and David and I joined right after college in the late 70s. As Mr. Sheldon said, my father, Richard McCubbin, was headmaster. He liked the business that he helped to start, but he didn't love it, and for many years he felt a call to go in a different direction. What he did love was his time at school. He loved academics, and he really loved students. So in 1967, he left the business, left McCubbin Hosiery, and came to Cassidy to teach middle school history. That was a big decision for my father personally and for our family as well, much bigger than I realized at the time. I was in 7th grade and my brother was in 6th, and I remember very well the evening when Dad told us at the dinner table that he was leaving the business to come teach middle school history at Cassidy. And my first thought, I'm somewhat ashamed to admit, was not about the sacrifice he was about to make to pursue his passion. My first thought, I confess, was about me, because I thought, well, you're coming to middle school at Cassidy, and I'm in middle school at Cassidy, and you're going to be with me at school every day. And my first thought, this is not going to work out very well at all. It did, in fact, of course, work out well, and far better than I could have imagined at the time. Dad taught middle and upper division history to a generation of Cassidy students, and for many years also taught art history with Mr. Gorham. And in 1980, as Mr. Sheldon related, my dad became Cassidy's 6th headmaster and served in that position for 10 years. He and my mother, because it was very much a team effort, they loved the school and they loved the students. Dad's years at Cassidy were, both in the classroom and as headmaster, were by far the happiest and most gratifying of his life. And he said that multiple times, not because it was an easy job. Being head of school is a remarkably demanding job, as both Mr. Sheldon and Mr. Gorham can attest. And the 80s in the state of Oklahoma were challenging, to say the least, certainly from an economic standpoint. Dad's years at Cassidy were so gratifying to him because he was pursuing his calling. He was doing what God had made him to do, and he knew it. My wife Marta and I have 2 daughters, as Mr. Sheldon said, graduates of the classes of 2005 and 2006. And after the graduation of our youngest, Allison, it didn't take long to realize that I wasn't fully prepared for the change that had taken place. For as long as I could remember, since preschool, I was on the Cassidy campus every day and most weekends. And after graduation, we actually spent Thanksgiving and Christmas here, literally next door. At that time, the headmaster lived on campus, and Mom and Dad lived right across that parking lot in what's now Woolsey House. So, and my daughters were lifers here as well. So for almost 50 years, my life was governed by the Cassidy calendar until one day in June, it wasn't. And after a half century of being immersed in all things Cassidy, first as a student, an alumnus, a trustee, a volunteer, and finally as a parent, that almost daily interaction with the school basically ended. The relationship with Cassidy didn't end, and my intention is that it never will, but that daily interaction with Cassidy did. And the seniors today, you'll soon find out what that's like. It's normal, it's what's supposed to happen, but change like that can be a little uncomfortable, at least it was for me. But what I've experienced over time and have increasingly come to value is what replaced that hole, that invisible hole that was left. And the feeling that replaced that void in my calendar and really in my life was always there, but I think maybe it took the removal of the day-to-day in order to replace it with something that could grow and expand. And that sentiment to me simply is gratitude. I never walk on campus without a feeling of immense gratitude for what Cassidy did for me and for my family. I felt it again this morning when I was walking across the parking lot to Mr. Sheldon's office. I have a lot to be grateful for. I'm grateful for teachers and coaches who consistently expected the best from me and set high standards, not only in the classroom and the athletic fields, but also in all areas of life. I'm grateful that they didn't just set the bar high, but that they worked with us, their students, every day to meet that goal and occasionally to exceed it. I'm also grateful they didn't give up on us when we failed, or probably more often when we didn't try hard enough. Cassidy faculty modeled the kind of behavior that they wanted us to emulate, that they were trying to help develop in us. And I was very fortunate to have many teachers like this, and I know you have them today. They're sitting in the pews with us as we speak. We're so used to this at Cassidy that I think it's easy to take it for granted, but my observation over the years is that what we have here is actually, and unfortunately, somewhat rare. All the more reason to be grateful. I'm also grateful for this chapel and for our tradition of daily chapel services. I have to confess, I'm a lot more grateful for it now than I was when I was a student. I did the math one time and estimated that I attended 2,300 chapel services during my years at Cassidy. There were a few very memorable ones, but most of them, I have to say, I don't recall at all. That's a direct reflection upon me at 8 a.m. and not upon the quality of the services. But I think our practice of gathering together daily in this place, no matter your faith tradition or lack thereof, I think it has great value in reminding us that we're actually called to something even higher than excellence in academics, athletics, and the arts, as important as those are. I think that St. Edward's Chapel is actually a breeding ground for moral values and for virtues that might otherwise lay dormant. I can't remember very many chapel talks, but I know that I'm a better person for those 2,300 chapel services, and I'm very grateful for that. My gratitude to Cassidy extends vertically to the opportunities that it afforded my parents and my daughters, and horizontally to the friendships that have lasted a lifetime. I'm grateful that Cassidy isn't just a superior college preparatory school. It certainly is, but I'm equally grateful that what happens here prepares students not just for college, but for life. The talents that you've acquired and developed, the disciplines, the habits, the character traits, those are things that, no matter what happens, can never be taken away from you. And some of you here this afternoon, you may already know what your calling is in life, what God intended you to do and to be. More than likely you don't, and that's okay. My father, his true calling wasn't revealed to him until he was nearly 40 years old. So, in closing, just a couple of thoughts to consider. This is not advice, by the way. You certainly don't need it, and both my girls, when they were at Cassidy, reminded me every day I wasn't very good at giving it. So it may sound a little like advice, but it's not. It's just what has worked for me, and maybe it'll be of some use to you as well. In order to cultivate that spirit of gratitude, a couple of suggestions. First, thank your teachers. Thank them. Teaching is a high and a noble profession, and one of its greatest rewards has got to be seeing their students achieve what they thought they could never do, what they thought wasn't possible. But even so, every teacher at Cassidy has made a real sacrifice of some sort in order to be here. It's not possible to have a great school. You can't have a great school without great teachers. We do. So, as the opportunity arises, thank them. Next, thank your parents and those who made it possible for you to be here today. They too have made a meaningful sacrifice. I think you could even call it a joyful sacrifice, because here's the thing about parents. As proud as you are of your accomplishments, and I'm not just our cum laude recipients, but all the upper division, all the students, when you feel a justifiable sense of pride in what you've accomplished, whatever it is, for your parents, multiply it by 100. The good news is you have that to look forward to, but in the meantime, it's okay to tell them thanks. So to the honorees this afternoon, once again, congratulations and very well done. May God richly bless your lives. May He fill us all with a spirit of gratitude for His many blessings, not least of which is this wonderful school that He called forth 72 years ago. And may He continue to protect and bless Cassidy School for the next 72 years and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCubbin, for your talk. Congratulations once again to our inductees. Thank you to all present here for joining us in this celebration today. After the benediction, I would like to ask the inductees and their parents to exit the chapel through the east door in the front to allow the assembly to exit quickly, after which we'll have pictures taken before we move to Bennett Athletic Center for the luncheon in your honor. There being no more business before this chapter, this meeting is adjourned after the benediction of Father Tim Sean Humans.
Please stand. You have been blessed to bless. So may God give you the grace to never sell yourself short, the faith and the fortitude to risk something big for something good. For the world is too dangerous of a place for anything but truth, and too small of a place for anything but love. So may God take your minds and think through them. May God take your lips and speak through them. And may God take your hearts and set them on fire. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us bless the Lord.
Thanks be to God.